It is not. In fact, ever since the beginning of time, teenage girls have been getting pregnant. It used to be more common. The peak, ever since they started keeping records of these things, which they only started doing recently, like in the 20th century, but ever since they started keeping records, in 1957 was the peak for teenage pregnancy. 1957. So to all of a sudden act like this phenomenon of girls getting pregnant at a young age that we consider young, 16 or 17, to act like it's a new thing is ridiculous. It's always been that way. Even biologically, and this is me just stating, I'm going to start by just stating facts.
He's going to start off by just stating facts, you guys. 1957, there was tons of teenage pregnancies. Who knows why? We could maybe go into that if we look deeper, or the way that maybe teenagers were married off. Maybe there was an influx of this whole thing. Maybe they thought they had to rebuild that family structure. Sound familiar? We have to replenish our systems with the right kind of people. It's just speculation. Either way it goes, he had more facts that he laid out during this discussion, and I guess, I don't know if it was a monologue who he was talking to, but there's more that Walsh had to say. Let's go.
So fact number one, it's not a new phenomenon. Fact number two, in fact, it's a phenomenon that was more common earlier in history, and for the first 6,000 to 10,000 years of human existence, it was a normal thing. Fact three, girls between the ages of like 17 and 24 is when they're technically most fertile.
Yeah.
Okay? That's biological. That's a fact, all right? I'm just stating facts, that's all I'm doing. But what happened recently, and this is the fourth fact, recently in the last 30 years or so, we decided that that's way too young to start a family.
Why?
And because the problem is not per se teenage pregnancy, it's unwed pregnancy. That's the problem in society. It's only problematic when you are not married and you don't have the man there to help you take care of the kids because he's a coward.
That's the only problem with teenage pregnancy. That's the only problem with marrying off people. That's the only problem with making sure we need a man to take care of this girl, by the way, that she's supposed to be taken care of. There's lots of things we used to do that was messed up back in the day. But again, this goes back to this whole hearkening back to the golden years, the good old days, when we used to do disgusting things to people. Do they not think that horrific things were done to these folks that were forced into these situations or found themselves in these situations too? Who cares? They're just women, or in this case, girls. First off, your thoughts on this, because this gets deeper, Schuster. First with Matt Walsh and his obsession with pointing out the facts that we used to horrifically do these things to girls.
There's something about Matt Walsh and how he talks about young girls and teenagers that is really creepy. And I think there's something going on there that maybe he's just trying to hide from everybody else, but that's kind of icky. And the second point about it is, if he's really concerned, if he really wants teenage girls and women to be able to, I don't know, be married at a younger age, well then maybe we should try to advance economic opportunities for younger people, maybe raise the minimum wage, make it easier so that people who are going to college or maybe decide not to go to college, that economically it pays for them to go ahead and get married and start having a family. But the way our economic system is so screwy these days, with so much going to the wealthy and the working class and everybody else having to suffer, you can't sustain and support a family based on the average wage of an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old. You can't do it. So maybe that's the side of this that Matt Walsh ought to focus on.
Of course not. The plan after folks are here, the plan after folks get in certain marriages and situations, it doesn't matter. All we just put them there, and if you haven't made it yet, it's your fault. As we continue to actively make sure you don't make it. Let's not act like this is just on an accident. There's structures in place that keep people limited. As you said, you could do things to raise things like people's economic opportunities in the country, but who cares? Here's the second half of this, because this all tracks with who Matt Walsh is, what he said before about sexual abuse. Walsh has repeatedly defended sexualization or sexual abusers of children in the more recent past, saying of the Catholic Church's sex abuse scandal that the problem is not pedophilia. He says the problem is not pedophilia, the problem is gay priests. And saying that the response to a sexual abuse scandal in the Boy Scouts of America was a, quote, a lesson to us all that surrendering to the left will lead to being completely obliterated. He must have had more to say to somehow explain that statement. There's more though. Walsh initially also defended Josh Duggar after the reality TV star was accused of sexual abuse of children, minimizing the allegations before later issuing a retraction once it came to light that Duggar had also cheated on his wife as an adult. The Daily Wire host has also minimized the Me Too movement. That's not a surprise, suggesting that it's a hysterical witch hunt, saying that women who feel violated after casual sex consented to and participated in their own degradation. Man, this guy's really upset. There was a tweet where he said that, and he said, now the Me Too movement is someone brushed by me, so now I'm hurt. The straw men keep getting built and they keep tackling them. It's the only way they win their arguments with themselves. That's how these things work.
I'm afraid that we may find out or discover at some point that Matt Walsh has certain impulses, certain things that are dark and scary to him, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And so he's projecting all of this, talking about, perhaps his fantasies about, young teenage women or people who are gay, whatever it is. And again, the way that Matt Walsh talks about that is just so sort of icky. There's a healthy way that you can talk about, sure, sexuality when people are fertile and what it is, the challenges that when you have people who are gay or whatever, people who are straight who are repressed, and sometimes those repressions can cause problems. There's a healthy way to talk about it, and then there's the Matt Walsh way, which is just creepy and frightening.
Yeah, and by the way, even if it isn't himself, there's you're putting up a defense mechanism for those types of folks. Because you need to own the libs, which you're still not even doing. It's all about the clout, and then what you're doing is saying they're groomers, but you're protecting folks like that by saying it's not really your fault. It's just because those priests were gay. Okay, fine.